That is claws.
So I'm watching Street Outlaws again. You know, it's since drag racing has been such a big part of my life. You know, I took a lot of pride in having like the fucking bike everyone was terrified of. This is before, I mean, there were very few fast bikes then. Uh, Motor. There weren't any. We didn't have any turbo bikes or blower bikes or any of that. It was all motor. And that was when Two Strokes had an advantage. And then at the last national event that I attended, that was in Fremont drag strip. They closed it right after that. That was a very old strip. And the guy who built my motor was there actually running his bike too. My first pass with that bike, it literally fucking destroyed itself. We didn't have bike dynos or anything like that. But I've been on 350 plus horsepower bikes now, and it felt at least that strong. It was a beast. It was a beast. There was only one motor like it, Lamont of Kawasaki. If you're listening, thank you. He told me he could have taken that motor and went to the Salt Flats and set a world record for that for 830 cc's. That bike was so scary. It literally destroyed itself. When I left hard that day, that was the one pass. It literally shredded itself. Now I had screws. I had 25 screws on each side of the tire, counter position, so that if there was two here on this side of the tire, there'd be one. So I had to transpose. I had 2 wheel locks on it. And when I left, it literally, it shook for just a second, and then all hell broke loose. Basically, the RPM went straight up. The tire stripped all the screws out, and where every screw was between the rim and the tire, where every screw went in, there was a curly cue of rubber. It would look bizarre because it was so consistent on both sides, and literally almost cut the beat out of it. That's a road racing slick because they didn't have good race slicks for us. Okay, the best you could do is 4-inch. We would put a huge road race slick on it and then lower the air pressure down to 3-4 pounds. That's why you needed the screws and the wheel locks, because there wasn't any air pressure to hold it up against the rim. But that day the track had been prepped very well. Destroyed it. One run. That bike right there, if I took that bike and tried to run anywhere today, I would have a 50% weight penalty. That's why you don't see Two Strokes running, by the way. Because if you see, the problem with a two-stroke, putting a blower or a turbo on a two-stroke is you'd have to have a crankcase that could hold all that pressure. I don't know that you could do that. I don't know that it's ever been tried, honestly, to tell you the truth. You'd have to basically manufacture a crankcase with added bungs all the way around, you know what I mean, for strength. You might be able to do it if you could find the right gasket material, and it's possible. I don't know. I don't know. Two strokes are so bizarre. But it's what I chose to ride when I was younger because they were so much faster for this size. But it was 830 cc's and had 3 40mm Makunis on it, and that barely fed it what it could eat. They were massive. You see, for me, drag racing, I go back a long ways, man. Way, way, way back to where we're in the 8th grade, 9th grade, and already having the fastest motorcycles around. I mean, I literally drove to school in 8th grade before I went to high school. I drove myself to school. That was okay then. Isn't that weird? Isn't that fucking bizarre? Huh? It's weird. Watching these guys race, man, when you see that tranny go, and you hear that horrible rear end, and they're not able to race the second round. Yeah. Having to push your shit for a long time, longer than you should, running a set of rods longer than you should, because you can't afford it. I think all of these guys have regular jobs. This is what makes it real for me, is that, yeah, they have this Team NOLA and Team whatever. Listen, that's bullshit. There can only be one winner, and they all know that. And they want someone in their zip to win. Okay, that's cool. I understand that. But that's not a team. A team is where someone comes and brings 3 cars. Now, imagine Ryan showing up with, or Lizzie Musey showing up with 3 cars, and they drove all 3 of them. What would you think about that race, that Street Outlaws? Lizzie shows up and runs, and this car loses, but she's got another car that she's qualified, and another car that she qualified. There's nothing in their rules, as far as I know of, that says you can't run another car. You can't replace a car with a new car, but you can run more than one car. So what would you think of that? Well, that's what happens in the NHRA. There's very, very, very few teams racing, and they all own a shitload of cars. I think between Force and Schumacher, 7? It's having one of his girls drop out. It's just not real. For me, it's commercialized. It's not entertaining anymore. It's burnouts with continually just repetitious, same old shit from the announcers. So, that's it for today.